Hello there, everybody. What Culture Wrestling's Adam Cleary here. Why, yes, it was raining on my walk into work this morning. Sat next to me, the relatively dried off Adam Nicholas, and we are here today to talk about WWE Raw. And no, not the skate ramp or the secret little door or any of the new things like that, the pyro, etc., etc., but specifically what happened after WWE Raw went off the air. I committed to the hand bit far too soon and all of that, and I realised my mistake early on. Anyway, yes, now you may recall last week, Seth Rollins and The Fiend had a little bit of a scrap, a little bit of a coming together, and then he sort of like, he did his blah, blah, blah thing and he disappeared, and that was the end of that. Now, if you remember, we thought that's probably going to lead to a bit more on this week's episode of Raw, and so it did on the live broadcast, but then it continued on after the show went off the air. And we'll get to that in a little bit, but I'll just set the scene for you. We're supposed to be getting Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio in our main event for the Universal Championship. Booked, advertised, hyped, everything, and then didn't happen because Brock Lesnar beat up Dominic, which is, I mean, there's a sentence for you, but anyway, it led to Rusev challenging in the main event, and many things happened in that, which we won't get bogged down with now. Lana's back for a start. That's
I was just about to say, if you weren't watching specifically, like,
you wouldn't believe
the
it,
logic, like the jumps there that you've just made, none of the pieces there, like,
no.
Where do them pieces go together?
Yeah.
Well, they don't.
Just the abridged notes of this are Rusev challenged, and then Bobby Lashley came out during the match and then started necking on with Lana and then demanded her music be played, and that was pretty much the main event. But while all that was going on...
Hang on, just a little footnote there, because as I mentioned already, I watched this on 1.5 speed, and that was one of the longest kisses I've ever seen on telly. So watching that at normal time must have been
grotesque.
Like, really, really intense.
It's another conversation entirely to be had that now there's two cooking storylines going on at the same time. But anyway, while all this was going on, The Fiend appeared. It's not quite his Bray Wyatt boot thing, but the lights went off, came out of nowhere, mandible closed Seth Rollins, and there was a scream, and it was really genuinely quite scary, and that's pretty much how Raw went off the air. But after that happened, once the cameras were off to send the crowd home happy, Seth Rollins got in the ring and challenged The Fiend to a Universal Championship match right here, right now.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Was it Phoenix?
Right here.
Was it Phoenix, Arizona?
I'm gambling on it. I feel confident.
There's only like 5 places in America, so that's probably right. So challenges him to a Universal Championship match, and they have that. I don't want to wait till Hell in a Cell. I want it right now. Which must have been, if you didn't realise the cameras were off, must have been incredibly exciting.
Yes, I think, well, I imagine most of them will have clocked it, but to be honest, these people turn up every week, and the fans were still into it this week like they were the week before. They deserve these matches.
The match was a bit of a back and forth, a lot more even. We've got a bit of footage, which we're going to show you right now. I'm assuming there's some footage of that.
Let's hope so.
Bit of a coming together, quite even, not giving away too much for their match on Sunday. But again, Seth Rollins repeatedly unable to put The Fiend away with the curb stomp. He just keeps getting up and getting up and getting up, and eventually they have their stare down at the end. And just like last week, bit of a light show, bit of this, bit of that, and they disappeared. So Seth Rollins presumably wins by forfeit or count out or something like that. Either way, he retains his Universal Championship. We move on to Hell in a Cell this Sunday, where they will face each other in a proper match. Why have they done that again?
Well, because it obviously went down really well last week, I think, was one of the things. And no, you're not. It's not Groundhog Day. You are seeing the same stuff again because it happened again. And let's be honest, why not? Because Bray Wyatt is so hot right now. We reported yesterday about how obviously all of the things that's been happening on various TV networks, the subliminal messages, he's getting a massive push. This is the biggest push I think I can remember any character getting. Like,
he's closed out the last 3 Raws?
Yeah, because
despite not having a match or anything.
Obviously closed out all these Raws. He's on all these various different networks. They're putting time into him. They're putting time into the character. Is it all going to be ruined at Hell in a Cell this weekend, Adam Cleary?
This is the thing, we don't want to speculate too much, but one or two things are
yes,
either going to happen here.
We want to speculate.
Either Seth Rollins gets absolutely dicked on, or Bray Wyatt's incredible skyrocket push just explodes into the moon. It's going to be like,
into the moon.
Let's send it to the star. Oh, no, there's a big planetary body, and it's Seth Rollins, and that's all over. That was nice while it lasted. As I've said on pretty much every video we've done about this, I have come completely 180 on this. I was so against it, so against putting him in the title picture this quickly, so against putting him at the top of the card this quickly when you could have done this long running storyline where we went after all the people who beat Bray Wyatt, put all these demons to rest. But then, as Michael Hamflett pointed out, you're going to be bored of it by November.
Absolutely.
So why don't we just make the most of it now?
I'm kind of liking this version because I think he's got enough. He's got enough people who he's went and corrected the wrongs of and hunted out. He's got them on the wall. The pictures are there. had the little thing with Braun as well, even like a little what could happen in the future.
Yeah.
There's enough there for me. And like you say, how many times have these storylines in the past, think back to like Becky Lynch's run to WrestleMania, how long that Ronda Rousey Becky stuff really started to get tedious after a couple of weeks, and we still had like a month and a half to go. So like, it's the quicker these things happen, probably the better for us, because we are a bit bored.
It's the immediacy of it now, I suppose, because there's so much WWE televised product to get through over the course of the week. If something drags out for longer than a month, you've seen it 15, 20 times by that point. I mean, I know they're pretty much restricting this to Raw, but there's still a lot of Raw to fill. It's all the social media stuff. And as we saw, like, they've started putting The Fiend in other adverts for other channels during other shows. Like, we did on the news yesterday that they freaked out loads and loads of American football fans in the middle of a game.
The amount of tweets where it's like, guys, did anybody else get this on your TV? Did you see this? What does it all mean? Interestingly, though, we talked on this prior. We were worried about oversaturation a little bit, and actually, somehow, I'd say this is, in a way, they've managed to get me believing in the fact that this isn't oversaturation. This is actually good stuff for Bray Wyatt in terms of getting him out there and getting his face literally across the world.
We did worry about this, I think, after they initially announced that he was going to be challenging Seth Rollins, because on the Raw immediately afterwards, he had three Firefly Funhouse segments, and he appeared and attacked Jerry Lawler. It was all, anyway, there was a lot of it all on the one show, and we thought, oh, this is going to be it now. You know, we kept going back to when Vince McMahon heard Enzo Amore do Soft. And he was like, that's really funny, do it in every single promo, do it all the time, and it got really annoying. But no, again, we think Bray Wyatt's still obviously having a lot of creative control over this character, because they're not oversaturating it, they're not quite doing too much with it, he's appearing just at the right time, just for the right amount of times, and I can't help but think the idea of put me in the middle of an American football match, please, won't have been Vince McMahon's.
Well, of course it will. Almost like a little idea from him, because he probably wants his product on there as much as possible. And that's,
possibly.
And a little flex in terms of like...
Well, the XFL, I don't know about that.
I expect wacky stuff like this to happen on XFL.
I don't know.
Clowns with touchdowns and stuff.
Yeah, what if you're an American football fan? What would you have made of that?
That's what I mean. It's obviously weirded enough people out to make there be some sort of reaction, a massive explosion on Twitter and social media, which is what all of the currency is these days for WWE.
I think it'd be interesting to see what this week's Raw is ratings-wise, because we have said that the one problem with The Fiend is, while everybody's critically lauding it and saying it's the best thing they've done in ages, it's not yet led to a boost in ratings the same way Brock does, or the same way even Ronda did for a while. It's not quite had that transmission, or there's still this drop-off on the third hour of Raw, even though everybody's now expecting The Fiend to appear. So it'll be interesting to see if they've averted that slide a bit this week.
Here's a question for you then.
Okay.
If obviously mentioning that, if they commit, is it possible that people aren't so like drawn to this as much as maybe in terms of numbers and ratings, because we're worried that potentially there might not be a payoff to the end of this? Is that one thing? And if so, if Bray is to win the title and is actually given the chance to be, I think how good that's going to be when he can be the champ and be on TV shows as the Mr. Rogers kind of character, where he can just talk normally, and he can do a little bit of menace after every interview. I think people are going to get behind that massively, if indeed they choose to do it.
Go down that route. My question to you, Adam Nicholas.
You got to answer the question before you pose a question.
Look, but
that's how this works.
The question you've asked is, have everybody had their fingers burnt too many times with WWE to care about anything they do?
Would they care more if they finally pull the trigger, or will we see a change in numbers potentially?
Look, if they do that, I'm sure it'll be very entertaining. People will tune in. I said, look, this is the thing. The Mr. Rogers character
Swirling round the drain. Go on.
The Mr. Rogers character he's not been on a WWE broadcast yet, in the sense of, like, he's been on the Firefly Funhouse segments, never been in the ring, he's never interacted with any of the wrestlers.
Nope.
I don't know if they're going to do that with him. I'd like it, personally, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yourself?
I think that's exactly why Bray invented this character the way he did, because I don't think Vince McMahon lets The Fiend on a TV show with the belt to do an interview where he's just like, in the mask. Yeah, so it's great that we do all the Make-A-Wish programs for the kids. Like, that's not going to work, is it? He's got to be the Mr. Rogers character.
Hurt and heel.
He's like, he's got to be. He has to be the Mr. Rogers character.
Well, we wait with bated breath to see how that unfolds, but let us know what you made of all of that in the comments below. Of course, don't forget, like you would, to like, share, and subscribe. But in the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. That was what happened after WWE Raw. I've been Adam Cleary. Where can the good folks get you on Twitter?
You can find me on the Twitter machine, not with any Bray Wyatt weird stuff going on my account, at It's Adam Nicholas, and I can find you with maybe some weird clown-related things happening.
Adam Cleary, CLERY, the whole What Culture family available to you at What Culture WWE. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. This has been what happened after Raw, which I've already said.
Hey, we'll see you again next week when it'll all happen again, I'm sure. Deja vu, baby.